So last night I saw The Eternal Daughter from A24, and this movie was beautiful in so many ways. I feel like this movie was both discomforting and also very cozy, which is like the perfect mood to capture these themes and messages in this movie. Like the symbolism of the haunted hotel, the old woman behind the window, Julie and Rosalind's mother-daughter relationship, why they are both being played by Tilda Swinton, Rosalind disappearing at the dinner table, and the ending with the first sunny sky. I listened closely to the interviews from the director and the actors and noticed many of the movie's little details, so I really hope you enjoy my research and my ideas for the film. So to break this movie down, we're going to use two themes. One, escaping the inevitable. We'll discuss Julie's film, Julie's internal struggle, the main message of the movie, the symbolism of the haunted hotel, the old woman behind the window, and Julie and Rosalind's mother-daughter relationship. And two, accepting the inevitable. We'll discuss why Rosalind and Julie are played by the same actor, the young receptionist, Bill's character, the birthday dinner scene with Rosalind disappearing, and the ending with the sunshine, and much more. And if you like this video, please leave a thumbs up and a comment. It helps so much. And if you want to see more of these, please make sure to subscribe as well. Let's get started. Theme number one, escaping the inevitable. Our main character, Julie, is visiting an old hotel with her mother Rosalind for the weekend to celebrate Rosalind's birthday. And this particular hotel is special to Julie and Rosalind because the same building used to be Rosalind's home when she was a child. During their stay, Julie is working on a screenplay for a film. And as Julie writes this film, she draws inspiration from her mother's current thoughts, as well as her mother's memories of her childhood. Julie is using the film to forever hold close her connection with her mother, which she knows is fading as her mother is getting older and life is moving on. And this entire internal struggle for Julie about aging, death, and life moving on is the central point of the film thematically. In an interview with the Venice Film Festival, Tilda Swinton expanded on what the film was about. It's about a conversation between two women at very different times negotiating their love for one another, and at the same time negotiating their sort of avoidance of emotion that they both hold, and trying to reach some kind of catharsis around the pain of separating in a mortal way. The film is centered primarily around Julie, and as this film progresses, we learn more and more about what is bothering her, or in this film's case, what is haunting her. And as said before, Julie has this internal struggle as she wrestles with the passage of time and the incoming loss of her mother, knowing there is no way to avoid it. And this concept of inevitable loss is literally haunting her, which is symbolized by the many spooky things that occur in this eerie hotel. The hotel seems haunted to reflect how Julie is haunted by her regrets and her inevitable future. The hotel is a symbol of Julie's state of mind. The same way anyone's personal regrets or anxieties would keep them up at night, this hotel keeps Julie up at night as she hears loud banging and rustling on the windows of empty rooms. The hotel also seems empty entirely. We never see any other guests, which symbolizes Julie's feelings of emptiness and her reluctance to make new friends because of all the time she's spending with her mother. The weather is always dreary, dark, and hazy, representing Julie's continuous feelings of depression and melancholy. She struggles to find phone service or internet around the property, symbolizing her inability to connect with others. And when she walks by the window of what looks like an empty room, she sees an eerie, faded image of an old woman, of course symbolizing her fear of her mother's old age and the inevitable reality of being separated from her mother. And I personally really enjoy the use of these symbols because the concept of desperately trying to avoid something that you deep down know is guaranteed to catch up to you is one of the most terrifying things a person could ever experience. And we will experience that in some kind of way in our lives. So in the meantime, Julie cares for her mother and does everything she can for her. She sacrifices very much of her own personal life to be with her mother. She doesn't see her husband as often and hasn't developed as many friendships because of the time spent with her mother. All of Julie's energy goes into making Rosalind happy. And Rosalind seems too compassionate and polite to tell Julie to move on because she knows Julie won't. Julie's too wrapped up in wrestling with this inevitable fate. And Julie will never address these deep fears with her mother because when you talk about it, it feels so much more real. So the whole film, there's this awkward air of politeness and avoiding their most honest truths, while still showing that they deeply love one another. And when we keep so many of these colossal feelings inside, the world seems to be working against us. That's the major reason why the house feels haunted for the majority of the film. But it's in the final birthday dinner scene that both characters do finally address the reality between them. And we notice a symbolic shift in the energy within the house and in Julie's mind. And we will certainly dive deeply into this dinner scene in theme number 2, accepting the inevitable. Both characters are played by the same actor because we see ourselves in our parents and in our offspring. We live eternally through our offspring, hence the title, The Eternal Daughter. Julie sees herself in her mother, and her mother sees herself in Julie. Our family members feel like a part of us, so it's painful to see them go. By taking care of our family, we are also taking care of ourselves, because it hurts tremendously to see our family hurt. But what this film communicates is there's a balance that we need to strike between keeping our loved ones close and accepting the changes that will affect us. And this message is best represented by the supporting characters. The young receptionist has such a coldness to her attitude as a result of her loneliness and poor family life. We see every day after her late shift, she gets into a car with someone who she may love, but doesn't seem to get along with very well. And if that's the person picking her up from work every day, that is likely and sadly the closest person to her. If she was warmer and more accepting of the new possible relationships around her, she may be able to find closure in a relationship that is dying. The juxtaposing character to the young receptionist is the other hotel employee, Bill. Bill had a beautiful relationship with his wife and continues to cherish it. Although his wife has passed away, he connects with his wife through playing the flute and walking through the hotel. He understands what Julie and Rosalind are going through as he speaks to both of them. He represents the solace that Julie is looking for and does eventually find at the end of the movie. And it's in the climactic birthday dinner scene that we see both characters finally address the true reality that they both know exists between them. Rosalind mentions that she isn't well, which limits her appetite. And we can see Julie very obviously emotionally fighting with herself and with her mother, unable to face the grim reality that her mother is finally addressing. Julie just wants her mother to eat dinner with her, like everything's okay, and for everything to stay as it is. But we all know, and her mother knows, and she knows, that change is inevitable. And when Julie finally accepts the reality of her mother's old age, her unwellness, and the inevitability of the changes of life, her mother disappears. This scene is of course much more symbolic than realistic, but it represents Julie finally accepting the fate of her mother. And of course, symbolically tying in with this acceptance, very shortly, we see her mother much older, living her final days. In the end, Julie does find the solace and the peace that we saw in Bill. The house is no longer haunted. We see the first bright sky with sunshine, and Julie is finally able to work on her story, which now looks like a novel being written. As she leaves, there are finally other people in the building, as she is now able to let others into her life. The film ends in a phase of optimism and new hope, as Julie, just like the hotel, is open to new beginnings, new friends, and new family. Alright, that's my analysis. Subscribe for weekly videos, and please send me your recommendations. And please let me know your thoughts and ideas around The Eternal Daughter. I know this movie can be interpreted in so many different ways. I hope to see you again, and thank you so much for watching. See you later.